Greetings, gamer guys and gals, and welcome back to Tutorial Town. What we did last time was we created an item shop, created a transfer from outside into the item shop, as well as showed you some switches and stuff, such as an event that can only activate when you had a certain item in your inventory, as well as talking to someone, which turns on a switch, which causes another person to say something else, which turn on another switch and cause another person to say something else. So that was basically the gist of it. So what we're going to do is what I plan on showing you guys today are variables, which variables are a lot more difficult to set up than just no ordinary switches. And what we're going to set it up in is going to be under the common events. So I'm just actually going to leave this alone for now. This had something to do to make it to where actors would say a certain thing after the end of the battle or something, but that's all based. This actually isn't based around anything. This is actual coding that you can do within the game itself, just with variables. So I mean, if you are able to look at this is an example of variables. But anyway, so we're going to go down to number 2, and what I plan on doing, excuse me, as I get a little more comfortable, what I plan on doing is showing you guys how to set up a clock system using variables. Now, I've only done this once before, but to my knowledge, it was easy enough to understand. So first off, we need to control a variable. So I'm going to go to number 5, because that just seems like a normal starting point. I mean, normally, well, actually, you know what? I think I usually create variables. Like I've got steel right here at 101. I'll put the clock variables at 81. So this will be seconds. This one will be minutes. This one hours. If I would actually type here. We've got hours. And then after hours you would obviously have days, but instead of actually like doing day and year and all that stuff, that would be way too much. You can actually do day of the week. So that's how you can actually cycle it from Sunday through Saturday if you want to go that far. So we can actually do day of week. And excuse me, I keep breathing in the microphone. So we have our seconds, our minutes, our hours, and then the days, I should say days of the week, and we'll hit apply. So we're going to have this set to seconds. Go OK. Alright, so I forgot to mention that you definitely you put in the loop first, and this is actually supposed to be, click on that, this is supposed to be yeah, there it is. I was sorry, it's been a while, but yeah, you do set it to control variables. So you take seconds and you add 1. Alright, so after you set that, so you're going to end up doing a conditional branch. So conditional branches, this is basically saying something. It'll do this if it meets this requirement. If not, it'll do this. So that's basically what that is. So this is going to be when variable seconds is equal to when it was greater than or equal to 59. Now, I know there's 60 minutes or 60 seconds in a minute, but the whole thing is the second starts at 0. That's what it is. It starts at 0. So it goes from 0 up to 59 and then starts back over at 0. It doesn't start over at 1. It'll always start back over at 0. So it's going to be 0 to 59 on the minutes, on the seconds, and on hours it's 0 to 23. So that's basically how that works. So we're saying if the variable of the seconds is greater than or equal to 59, we'll have an else branch. If seconds is greater than or equal to 59, you go to control variables, you'll take seconds and set it back down to 0. So then it'll just start over. And then underneath that, control variables, and you'll do +1 with minutes. So that will end up adding 1 minute for every 60 seconds. So then you have that. So then directly under this, well, before we get to that, so we're still under this whole thing where it adds a second. So at the end of this, down here in this little spot here, we're going to put a wait time. Now this wait time will determine how often it'll add one of those second variables. So wait time was right here. So 60 frames is equal to 1 second because it says one frame is a 60th of a second. So obviously 60 frames is a second. If you tell it to wait a frame, then you're actually making this in real time. So that's going to be every actual second. So an hour will go by only if you've been playing the game for an hour. And I don't know if you want to do real time, but from what I think would be better to do, you can either set it to, you could set it to 30, so it'll be half time. So basically an hour would go by after 30 minutes. Or if you set it to 20, an hour will go by every 20 minutes. Or 10, which would be an hour, would go by every 10 minutes. Or a minute will go by every 10 seconds. That's going to be in game. So it just depends on how fast you want the time to go. If you want it to go every 60 or every second, an actual second, by all means, you can do that. Personally, I think a good one is 20 because that means every 20 actual seconds, a minute will go by in game. So every 20 minutes, an hour will go by in the game. And for every, let's see, it would be what, 8 hours? Yeah. For every 8 hours, a day will go by in the game. So that's always very helpful too. So we can do it. I'll have it set to 20. So for every 20 frames, it'll count up a second. So now we're going back to this where we're going through our variables again. So we're going to set yet another conditional branch. So go back to tab 1 and click on conditional branch. So we're going to set this variable to when minutes is greater than or equal to 59. Okay? So when minutes is greater than or equal to 59. So when that happens, we're going to control variables. We're going to reset minutes back down to 0, just like that. And now we're going to take our hours one and we'll add 1. So now we have it set to where every 59 minutes, an hour will go by. So, I mean, now by this point, you're probably kind of understanding what we're going here. So we have our seconds, count up every one. It'll go up by 1 second every 20 frames. That's what this is for. And that's why it's down here. It's down here underneath all of this. So for every 20 frames, it'll go up by a second. And that's why we have this in a loop, because it'll keep repeating over and over and over again. So every 20 frames, it'll go up by a second. And then once that second reaches 59, it'll reset back down to 0. Or if it's greater than 59, if it goes like, say, up to 60, then it'll instantly drop back down to 0, and then the minute counter will start. It'll go up by 1. So when the minutes get up to 59 or 60 in this case, it'll drop back down to 0, and our hours will go up by 1. So now we will set a conditional branch for our hours. So we got our hours, and this time it'll be greater than or equal to 23. Okay, it'll be 23. So we'll have that set, and then we take our hours variable, and we will reset it back down to 0, and then we'll get our days variable, or days of the week, weekday. See, we can actually take this a little step further and do, I mean, I've seen some people do week and then also add month, but there's never an exact amount of weeks in a month, because that's the sad thing. But yeah, you could take this a step further and do days of the week, and immediately after that you can do month and then do a year, because I don't see doing week all that great unless you're going to leave out months, because yeah, otherwise if you did like a month every 13 week, or a month every 4 weeks, there would be 13 months in a year. But so usually days of the week is usually good enough, because I mean, that's great for if you want to set up an event that only happens like on a Tuesday, then at like a certain time you can do it that way. But going month, like months just seem kind of unnecessary, because it would be kind of like really tedious to have a certain event only happen during a certain month. And that's just going a step too far, because there's 12 months. I mean, you don't want to sleep and sleep and sleep and continue to progress to the next day. So we're just going to leave it at days of the week. I'm not going to take it a step up further and go month. I mean, if you want to take it into a month, you can, or take it into a year, you can. So if you were setting it up that way, it would be also kind of hard, considering months have, yeah, there's some months with 30 days, some with 31 days, and then you've got the one with either 28 or 29, depending on the leap year. So yeah, I guess in that kind of sense, you could actually do weeks, because it would actually be kind of easier. And if you want your game to have 13 months, you could do it that way too, and have it set to where for every 4 weeks you can have a month, or every 13 months you can have a year. But so if you set it up that way, you would have to say you'd have to set the variable for days, or when you want it to go up to a week, it would have to be greater than or equal to 6, because it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for the weeks, to a year, it would be greater than, or weeks to a month, it would be greater or equal than to what, 3? Yeah, about 4 weeks in a month. And then for the months, it would be greater than or equal to 12, because you would have to have 13 months in that case. But so we're just going to leave it as days of the week. So I'm going to select days of the week and add 1. And there we go. So this is where now you're going through the days of the week. So instead of getting something else on here, you'll do a conditional branch. There you are. I don't know why I lost that. And we're not a switch. We're not doing switches. So conditional branch, days of the week, greater than or equal to 6, as I just said, because obviously 0 would be Sunday and 6 would be Saturday. So when that happens, we're just going to reset week, not conditional branch. What am I doing? We're just resetting week, days of the week, back down to 0. And that's basically all we're doing. So now we have it set to, for every 20 frames, we'll get a second. And for every 60, it'll go back down to 0 and add a minute. For every 60 minutes, it'll go back down to 0 and add 1 hour. For every 24 hours, we'll go back down to 0 and add a day of the week. And for when we reach 7 days of the week, it'll reset back down to 0. And that's why, I mean, if you want, you could have it set to just 1 through 7, but you still have that 0 in there, and 0 is usually a default. So this will be our week. And this is pretty much the gist of setting up your clock system. Now, the difference is trying to implement your clock system. So we'll hit apply on that. So we're going to go back into this little shop. We have a clock here, And I think what I'm going to do is just move the clock over. So what we're going to do is go onto this, and let's say we put the clock right here, and then we'll get rid of that. We'll move this picture over. Oh yeah, and in case you guys didn't remember, you can actually right-click a group, and you'll highlight that whole group, and you can just left-click and paste it anywhere. But so we've got our clock here. So now what we have to do is we'll set up an event at the base of the clock, not below character. It'll be same as character. It's obviously not going to have a graphic. So this is where this comes in handy. Now, obviously, a clock like on the wall right there is not going to really tell you the day of the week, but it will tell you the time. So right here we have show text. I think what I want to do is have it just display at the bottom. I'll give it a dim window. Now, the interesting thing about this is that when you hover the mouse over the space and wait, it'll tell you what is all in this, like what you can add in here. Like what we're looking for is /v, the very top one there. I can't move my mouse to show you, but it's going to be /v, and then you have open bracket n, close bracket n, which it's replaced by the value of the nth variable. So in this case, usually when you look for a time, you only have the hour and minutes. So we're going to type that in, /v, open bracket, and hour is first, and if you remember correctly, I set it to 81, 82, 83, and 84 for our variable number. So the n is the number of the variable. So basically, the variable number for our hours hand, I believe, was 83. So we'll do 83, and then you do a close bracket, and then obviously we'll do a colon, and then we'll do the same exact thing, but replace it, or have this next one do 82. And this should, this should show the variable of which, this should show the variable in which the time that it currently is in the game. So obviously it's going to be in military time, because obviously when it gets up to a certain point, like say 2 o'clock in the afternoon will be 1400 hours, 14 o'clock basically. I mean, you can have it set to do a different kind of number, but that's just going a little too far. We're just going to keep it into military time or standard time that most other countries end up using. So this right here will tell us the hour, the minute, and if you want, you can actually add seconds on there. I'm not going to really bother with seconds. So the hour and minute, this will be the time. But I mean, I guess there is a way you can have it saying AM or PM, but we're not going to really do that. So we just got the time right here. It'll just display the time. So when we hit preview, it's saying 00 because they're both at 0 right now. So we'll hit OK. Now the only difference about this is that whenever it's like a minute past the hour, it's just going to say 1. It's not going to say 01. And that's one of the issues too. Yeah, it'll just say 1. That's one of the interesting things too, is that I'm trying to remember if there was actually a way for it to actually say 01 and not just 1. Let's see. Where our minutes are right here. I'm trying to do this. I mean, there is a way you can get around it to where it's like, oh, if the minutes are greater than 0 and less than 10, you can have it set, or less than or equal to 9. You can have a 0 in front of it. Same thing on the hours. If it's less, well, I guess you don't really have to worry about the hours, but like if it was 10 minutes or 1 minute after one, it'll literally just say 1:1, just like it said 0:0. But yeah, this is just a basic way of setting up just a normal clock. I mean, there's a ton of ways you can actually make the clock look a little prettier, but this is just your basic setup for it. But yeah, I don't think there really is a way you can like change this text in any kind of way with like conditional branches or something. I mean, I guess there is, like, say, we copy this. We are going to put down a conditional branch. So I guess this is how we can actually do it this way. Like, say, if the hours, let's see, the hours are less than or equal to 9, then we'll put this in here, edit, and we'll actually have a 0 right there. So that way a 0, like when you view that preview, it'll say 00. And that's only if the hours are less than or equal to 9. Now we can also add on here just another one at the end for the other conditional branch. Let's see. We'll also put this in here, going conditional branch if, let's see, minutes are less than or equal to 9. So we'll X that, and here we'll actually have an else branch. We'll create an else branch, and on this hours thing we'll also create an else branch. So this, if we paste this here, this right here is only if the hours and minutes are both less than or equal to 9. So now we can actually put a 0 in front of this as well. So when we go preview, it'll say 0000. Now if we copy this, and if we put it here after this first else, this is only if the hours is less than or equal to 9, but the minutes are not. So if the minutes are not, so we would edit this again, and we'll replace that 0. Okay, if you're following me. And now we have, so I'm actually going to copy this and put this in the else as well. So we have an else for if the hours are not. So we have if the hours are not less than or equal to 9, but the minutes are less than or equal to 9. So we will edit this, and we'll just remove that first 0. So this will basically make it to where if the hours are greater than 9, it won't have that 0 in there. But if the minutes are greater than or equal to 9, or less than or equal to 9, it'll have that 0 in there. But if not, neither of them will have a 0 in there. So I hope you guys followed me on that. So now, this is, I guess, the simplest way you can have a 0 in there. So if the hours are less than or equal to 9, and the minutes are less than or equal to 9, you'll have 2 zeros in there to kind of make it be like 01:05, which would be 5 minutes after 1 in the morning. But if the hours are not, or if the hours are less than or equal to 9, but the minutes are not, they are greater than 9, then you would have the 0 still there for the hours, but you will not have a 0 there for the minutes, because obviously 10 and so on it'll automatically have 2 digits. But now we have it down here which is the else. So if the hours are not less than or greater than, if they are less than or equal, if the hours are greater than 9, but the minutes are less than or equal to 9, then the hours will be in double digits and the minutes will not. So the minutes will need that extra 0 in the front. And if the hours and minutes are both greater than 9, then you will not need a 0. So that's one way you can set a time. So, for instance, let's just say we create our starting position in the shop. So let's create a parallel process, okay? Or better yet, let's create a thing here, just a little thing that'll say same as actor. We'll have this set it to a certain time on these fruits. We'll have it set it to a certain time. So we'll have this, let's say, set it to, let's say 8:07 in the morning. Let's go with 8:07. So we'll set the seconds to 0. We'll set the minutes. Let's see, what am I doing? Control variables. We will set the minutes to, setting the minutes to 7 would actually, what did I say? I said 8:07? Yeah. Okay, so setting the minutes to 6 actually will be 7 minutes after. We'll set it to 6. Wait. No. That'll actually be 6 minutes. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. It'll actually be set to 7. So the reason is because when you're counting up time after that 59th second, you don't hit 60. It just immediately starts back over at 0. That's why it's 0 to 59. But I don't know why I was thinking you would subtract or something, but no, it's just ignore me there. So you would actually set it to the time you want. So this would be 8 for hours. And let's say we set this to a Tuesday or something. Well, we're not going to worry about days. We're not. Well, I'll get to days in a bit, but or maybe in a different video. If you guys so want to make a calendar, I can actually show you how to make a calendar. But for now, we're focusing on the time. So this, it'll set the seconds to 0, set the minutes to 7, and it'll set the hours to 8. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to open another one here. Make sure to set this as same as character. If you have it below or above, you're not going to be able to activate this with an action command. So we'll paste this here. We'll always reset the seconds. It's just best to do that. So minutes we're going to leave at 7, but we're going to change the hours to, let's say, 16. So we got that. Now we'll start another one here on this map. Leave it at, we'll change the minutes. Sorry, if you hit space on it, you can actually edit this actual thing. So we'll change the minutes, let's say 32. Let's go with 32. But we'll leave the hours at 8. And then lastly, on this one, we'll change the minutes to 32, and we'll change the hours. I didn't mean to double click on it. Get rid of you. I meant to hit space and change this to 32. Space and change this to 16. So just to make sure I didn't do the same goof on there. So yeah, so we have one that changes time to 8:07 in the morning. We have another one that changes it to, what, 1600 hours is what? 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock? 7 minutes after 4, or 16:07. And then we have this one. I forgot to change it to same. This one will change it to 8:32 in the morning. And then this one will change it to basically 4:32 in the afternoon. And same as character. So now if we hit play, we should be able to view the correct time on this clock. So let's test it out and make sure it works. Presuming I did my numbers correctly. So new game. Forgot to turn my thing down. So if we went up to this right now, it would just say 0 o'clock, just like that. So we turn this on. Now it says 8:07. We hit this. Now it says 16:07. We hit that. It says 8:32. And we hit this. 16:32. So our clock actually now works. Now, what's more is these are just setting it. What's more is if you want it to actually work, what we have to do is go back to Forest Town. I'm going to set my player starting event here. I'm also going to remove this locked page. So we're just going to delete that and just remove that and apply. We don't need to go after that chest anymore. So player event here. So what we're going to do is what I always do is whenever I have a parallel event that's going to just start by itself, I'll put it up here in the top left corner. So make sure you have the trigger set to parallel. It's a parallel process. So we come up here. Common event. So we're going to start common event 2. We forgot to name it, but that's our clock system. Which reminds me, for common event, let's name this. I keep hitting my webcam. Yeah, clock. Excuse me. So we now have named that clock. So this will automatically activate the common event, make the common event start, and it'll keep going. So if you want to end it, you can actually go to, let's see, where is it? There's a erase event, which basically means once you activate it, you don't need to have it keep activating over and over and over again. So once it's activated, you'll erase the event, hit apply. So now if we start up, well, let's go ahead and make it start at a certain time in the day. So let's go ahead and, whoops. Automatically, I want the seconds. Why did I do that? Automatically, the seconds will start off at 0, so that's fine. So let's say we make it start off hours. Let's go hours, and we'll start it off at 8 o'clock. Or no, let's say 7 o'clock in the morning. So it'll automatically start the time at 7 a.m. So I actually need to... Okay, there we go. Just put this down here. So we automatically set our hours, start the common event, and then erase the event. So when we start off, we should be able to go into that, into the little house or shop or whatever. See, I just showed you up in that left corner. If you saw, it showed Sunkissed Town. So now we're in this little shop. And it's already 7 o'clock. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Now let's say we waited. If we wait around for, what did I say, about 20 seconds, the minute should go up by 1. So let's kind of wait around for 20 seconds. I'll just keep talking to you and let you hear my sultry voice. But, yeah, so I know you don't want to hear about me complimenting myself. God, I know I need that more often. Self-complimentation. Is that a word? Complimentation? If not, I'm making it a word now. Complimentation. Sounds like a nice word. So let's go ahead and check our clock. Come on. I know it should have been 20 seconds by now. Something's amiss. Because I do have it set to... Oh, wait, I don't know. It's set to loop, so it should have gone up by now. Okay, so I think I did make a little error somewhere. Let's go into this common event. Trigger. I mean, it doesn't have a trigger when we actually turn it on. So it's set to loop, and it sets the seconds variable at 1, and it's set to loop every 20 frames. And we have it set to if the seconds is greater than or equal to 59. I'm pretty sure there was actually a way in-game. Hold on. Let me check this. I have it set to parallel. Or maybe I should do auto run. See if that'll make it any better. So we have it set to where it turns at, and we have it to where it turns the common event clock on. So common event clock should be on, unless erasing the event caused it to mess up or something. Or better yet, instead of erasing the event, I'll just do control self switch, do it set to A, and then have a new event page for when self switch A is on, and have this to action or parallel, I don't know, something like that. Something caused the event to stop, and I think there was a way. Yeah, see, I'm not able to move now. So let me replace this back to parallel. Alright. So something's going on with that, let's see. See, now it's saying the seconds are going up. Or the seconds was at 9. And now the seconds was at 10. Seconds is at 16. So if we just kind of leave it sitting here, everything should be fine now. I don't know why. I think erasing the event may have like caused it to stop or something. F9. It's at 60. And there we go. We have our first minute. So let's go ahead and go look at the clock. I don't know why the erase event made it stop for some reason. Okay. 7:01. So we've got our clock system working now. So that is how you set up a clock, if you so wish to have a clock system. And a lot of the times people will end up having like plugins or scripts that did a clock system for them, but this is a way you can have it set up without having to get like a plugin or something to set one up for you. This is just a really easy and simple way of setting up a clock system using variables. Once you start understanding variables, it does make it a little easier. I mean, that's all they are, is just numbers. You can have them counted up, and then after, that's also how you can have a quiz set up in one of these games. Let's say you have a quiz set up for like 6 questions. Or no, 5 questions. Let's say you have a quiz of 5 questions, and you have to get 3 right in order to pass, but you have to get 3 wrong in order to fail. So when you set it up that way, so every time they get an answer correct, you would add a variable point for the correct answer. And if they got one wrong, you'd add a variable point for the wrong answer. And after they got 3 right, after 3 correct answers, you could end up activating another page inside that event to create for like, congratulations, you got 3 questions right, or something like that. I've actually set one up in a previous RPG Maker that I was working on before this. I think it was way back on VX8. No, it was actually back on VX. So it was before VX8. But it's very simple. If you guys have any questions about variables and stuff, please leave those down in the comments below. I will answer them the best I can. And if there was any other kinds of Any other tutorial-like stuff that you want me to cover for you to help you understand something, also let me know down in the comments, and I will try my best to help you guys out. But with that said, if you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I'm always willing to help you guys out, so please help me out too. It means a lot to me that you guys would also help me out. So, I will see you guys in the next episode of Tutorial World.